Now, doctors are supposed to make us better, but these patients say Dr. Emile Gayed botched procedures and sometimes performed unnecessary surgery on them. While he's now been banned, it's little comfort for the women whose bodies he damaged.
One word, he's a butcher.
I thought I was dying.
This is Australia. It just shouldn't happen.
Those women trusted you to take care of them and you abused that trust. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Not in my entire life, and I wish not to see it again.
For a place where they went for help, too many women have left Manning Base Hospital in more pain than when they arrived. They're all hurting in different ways, but say their suffering was caused by the same man. His name, Dr. Emile Shawky Gayed.
He's absolutely ruined my life. He's ruined it. I hate him.
Lee Elliott is a mum of 6 who almost died on Dr. Gayed's operating table. She went in to have a lump removed from her stomach. Instead, Dr. Gayed gave her a full hysterectomy against her wishes and against the advice of the hospital's head specialist.
The head gynaecologist that had spoken to Dr. Gayed and said to him, whatever you do, don't do a hysterectomy on Lee Elliott because she's had 5 Caesars, 6 children, twins, and she's got a lot of adhesions and she'll bleed to death.
Lee ended up in intensive care and needed 2 further operations to save her life.
I hate him and he deserves to be punished.
In one sentence, how would you sum him up?
I feel like he's a butcher, and the one thing I've wanted out of all of this ever since I got home from hospital is for him not to hurt anyone else.
Emma Stryber says she never felt completely comfortable with Dr. Gayed. But in a regional town like Taree on the New South Wales mid-north coast, women don't have a lot of choice.
He reassured me that he would do his best to fix my pain.
Emma suffers from endometriosis, a condition that in 2015 caused her to miscarry her 5th child. She thought Dr. Gayed was performing follow-up surgery to remove some cysts.
I had a feeling something wasn't right. I just had to keep telling myself, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong.
There was something terribly wrong. The 65-year-old obstetrician and gynaecologist had in fact removed one of Emma's perfectly healthy ovaries and fallopian tubes, and while doing so, severed her urinary tract, causing her stomach to swell.
I've given birth 4 times, and this was by far worse than anything I've ever experienced. I've just felt really out of control. I felt like I was going to die.
Oh, this is the letter you received.
In need of medical treatment for the rest of her life, Emma is building a case against Dr. Gayed. From hospital records to pathology results, perhaps this piece of evidence is most alarming.
Dr. Gayed sent me a text message saying he was distressed and upset and shocked that he'd caused this.
Why do you think he sent this?
Guilt. It's an admission of guilt. He knows he did wrong.
Emma made the first official complaint about the doctor, unaware her bravery would uncover dozens of other women who too have suffered at the hands of Dr. Gayed.
Are you surprised it took so long for him to be held to account?
I'm horrified that it's taken, 10 years for all this to come up.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Rachel O'Shaughnessy's story dates back 15 years. She says Dr. Gayed cut her baby girl's face while delivering her via caesarean section.
The intern actually came over and told me my baby has been cut on the face and she'll be needing stitches. He just tried to tell me that it was a pretty common thing. It's happened in a few cases, and that basically that Brittany's scar will heal in time. I was in the hands of a monster.
Monica Bolton says Dr. Gayed has scarred her for life. Pregnant with her 3rd child, she went into premature labour at 35 weeks back in 2006.
They said they'd call the doctor in on call, or the specialist on call in, who happened to be Dr. Gayed. I wasn't happy about it, but couldn't do much about it.
Once her baby was born, Monica says Dr. Gayed became aggressive.
My previous pregnancies, I've had to have a general anaesthetic for the removal because I suffer from placenta accreta. And he's like, no, you won't be getting a general anaesthetic, I'll just manually remove it. And I said, no, you have to knock me out. You can't just manually remove it. You have to knock me out.
What's going through your mind at this point?
Fear, absolute fear.
Monica was left with a torn uterus and robbed of her chance to have any more children.
As far as female reproduction organs go, you wouldn't send your cat to him for a D-sex. He's a butcher.
Nicole Ramsey never got to meet her fourth child. She miscarried at 13 weeks after Dr. Gayed performed a procedure that's considered too risky on a pregnant woman.
I just couldn't believe that a doctor that specialises in that field could do that.
What's the hardest thing to accept about losing your child?
Well, there was no choices. I had no choices. He made my choices for me.
If these women's stories aren't confronting enough, 9 other women have now been red flagged as being at risk of developing cancer of the uterus because of a procedure called an ablation that Dr. Gayed performed on them.
There is a possibility that the chances of this cell type might change into a cancer type.
One of the most heartbreaking stories is of a 64-year-old woman who health investigators fear died because Dr. Gayed operated on her, even though he knew it would increase her chances of contracting cancer. And just as concerning, more women could face the same fate.
We have conducted a full review on all the ablations that he's done for the last 10 years. There were over 300 cases of them.
Dr. Osama Ali stood Dr. Gayed down in February 2016. This month, Dr. Gayed was found guilty of professional misconduct and disqualified from practicing for 3 years.
He departed the hospital and he's never come back, and he will never come back.
After the break, we track Dr. Gayed down, and much to his victims' disgust, we hear his appalling excuses.
We trust doctors with our lives, but what happens when they do us harm? We track down the specialist accused of butchering patients.
For a man who chose a career caring for women and mothers, Dr. Emil Gayed's failures are graphic and far too frequent. It seems wherever Dr. Gayed has worked, he's left a trail of devastation. There's more than 30 complaints across 4 different public hospitals in New South Wales. And although suspended just weeks ago, A Current Affair can reveal Dr. Gayed has been under the microscope for most of his 28-year career. The New South Wales Medical Board had placed him under the supervision of a professional mentor whom he had to report to every 2 weeks.
And what would he say?
According to Dr. Ali, he or his staff at Manning Base Hospital were never told why.
If a doctor came to you with conditions on him, wouldn't you need to know or want to know what they were?
You would, but there will be limited information that you can get access to. This is all within the privilege, within the medical board.
Each of their traumatic experiences here at Taree's main hospital might be different, but there seems to be a constant concern among each of the women who have spoken out about Mr. Gayed's misconduct. And that is, were they just unlucky to be treated by an incompetent doctor? Or did he have a motive? So why would he do it?
I can't really tell why that happened. It's only Dr. Gayed who will be able to tell us.
Of all places, we find the disgraced, disqualified specialist leaving church.
Did you come here to get some forgiveness today, Mr. Gayed?
Yes.
Dimity Clancy from A Current Affair. We're here to talk to you about your suspension as a doctor.
I'm not interested.
Were you surprised by your suspension, Mr. Gayed?
No comment.
Those women trusted you to take care of them and you abused that trust. What do you say about that?
I've been a doctor for 41 years and there are things which you are not aware of.
Is it incompetence or is it a deliberate act?
No comment, please.
Seemingly flustered, he chooses not to focus on the women whose lives he has all but
I
ruined.
served in that place for 18 years and I have 10,000 families I cared for. And that's the only comment I will do.
So what do you say about the victims that have come forward about your malpractice? I mean, giving a woman a hysterectomy without her consent, what do you say about that?
You cannot operate without consent. There is a consent there, and the nurses will not allow you to operate without consent. This is incorrect information.
Mr. Gayed says this is all incorrect information. What do you say to that?
So I will argue that simply because we do have pathological evidence of those women, the 9 women that he operated on.
Having shut down several private practices and warned not to step foot near a hospital, Dr. Gayed resides on Sydney's northern beaches, a far cry from the lives his victims have been left to rebuild.
I just didn't want this to happen to anybody else, what happened to me. What he put my whole family through was horrific.
I think 3-year ban is ludicrous. There should be life.
New South Wales Health has launched an inquiry into the handling of all complaints made against Dr. Gayed. That report will be finalised in September.